Kia ora koutou, ko Angela Caves tōku ingoa, no mai, haere mai. My name's Angela Caves and I'm the Digital Events Manager with Digital Boost. I'd like to welcome you to the Business Growth and Support Virtual Conference. This conference is targeted at our top of the South Island, so Nelson, Tasman, Marlborough, and our West Coast region of the South Island. Welcome to session 5 on our day 2 of the conference. So today, this session is our final session of the day. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. It's wonderful to have you here. We are also welcoming people joining from a live stream on either Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube this afternoon. All sessions of the conference are being recorded and will be uploaded to a YouTube playlist that will be available for post-event viewing, and the link will be distributed out to all registered attendees. I'd like to introduce Anne from Connected. Anne is from our collaborating partner organisation, and Anne's going to run through just quickly how the webinar will work, and then we'll introduce our presenting guests from Development West Coast. Thanks very much, Anne.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, ko Anne Gintia ho. I'm based on the West Coast, Te Waipounamu, and my role is Employment Liaison Advisor for the Connected Service. No mai, haere mai, ki te kaupapa Digital Boost. We're here today to introduce you to Development West Coast, our economic development organisation. And I'd like to introduce Fiona Hill, Business Capability Manager, and Ian Johnson, Business Capability Advisor.
Thanks, Anne. I'm just going to go in and share my screen. Let's come up there. Kia ora. So thank you, Anne. So I will start, and Ian and I are going to tag today in this presentation. So we're sitting next to each other, so I will just have to adjust the camera so you can see either myself or Ian when we are speaking. Perfect, thank you. So Development West Coast, who are we? So we were established as a charitable trust in 2001 with a settlement of $92 million, which was received from the government, and it was an economic adjustment package for the loss of Indigenous forestry and with the privatisation of infrastructure on the West Coast in the late 1990s. So DWC manages its funds to enable the investment and distribution of income back into the region. So these objectives are met through the provision of a range of business and economic development initiatives, which include business finance, business support and advisory services, industry and sector support, and research and economic projects. So DWC priorities, manaakitanga, so encourage diversity, prioritise professional development and keep our people safe. We're looking to grow our revenue, leveraging DWC resources to attract further funding and maximise the potential of central government funding. Kaitiakitanga, so managing our resources. We need to ensure that DWC has a perpetual fund to invest by maintaining the real value of our equity. So we pursue investment opportunities which are of direct benefit to the region. So we're looking to attract regional investment. We're looking to identify and enable public and private investment in West Coast ventures. We're looking to enable and accelerate business development, and we'll go into more detail on the business support products and services shortly. So we're looking to enhance the region's profile. We're wanting to be the identifiable voice for regional economic development. So we maintain a regional profile which showcases the region as an attractive place to live, work, invest, do business and visit. And we do that by developing strong working relationships with both central government and key stakeholders. So here we have Tai Patini, the Te Whanakatanga Tai Patini West Coast 2050 strategy. So this was launched in February 2022 Effectively, it's a roadmap guide to economic development on the West Coast. So we did launch this, and we had a series of workshops across the region, attended by over 150 people. And the development of the strategy included contributions from our youth. So it was endorsed by the 4 West Coast councils, Mana Whenua and Development West Coast. So the strategy is overseen by a steering group, which comprises of 16 leaders from key industries and stakeholders across the region.
A little bit about regional, kia ora anyway, I'm Ian, how I am. Regional development and industry support. So a number of years ago, Development West Coast absorbed what would have been the old Tourism West Coast, the regional tourism entity, which now operates and is funded out of Development West Coast. So in line with that, we support 3 full-time positions, doing things like trade and media for mills. We help with events planning, a number of event marketing campaigns on at the moment, Hands on West Coast, Holiday Booster, Always On, Back in Your Backyard. We're about to launch a spring campaign. And as we discovered today, a very secretive summer campaign, which I can't tell you about because we don't know about it yet. We also developed the collateral for the West Coast for the tourism industry. So that's your visitor maps, trade and visitor manuals. And we've also committed to and completed recently some significant research region-wide, so visitor perception research, which has been extraordinarily valued, the regional event strategy, and also digital capability workshops related to Digital Boost, which we've also supported, and also appointing and suggesting Digital Boost ambassadors to the region as well, which are helping all businesses across all manner of different ways into their digital media strategies.
We're out of order on a couple of our slides, so please be with us.
That's right. So in a regional development set, we effectively work along beside stakeholders. So in my role as such, I don't sit down with someone and write their business plan for them and write their marketing strategy for them. I identify where there's a need. This is what our team does, and then we try and connect people to the people that can help support them in those needs to develop their businesses, to develop their products, and to develop their services. We look at all sorts of things, so new and emerging opportunities. We support industry body initiatives. We will actually assist in facilitating research projects, and we also go out and try and leverage funds to attract investment into them. Effectively, I mean, I guess what we're doing is we're acting as that link between the West Coast and industry and other industry experts. So, which means that, you know, as a sort of an information dispersal hub, we really are on top of things like we work with Infometrics quite closely. We provide the regional updates for the economic indicators throughout our region. We do this through a number of different avenues. We operate I guess what you call an email system where pretty much every business on the West Coast has an opportunity to decide what it is they do and don't want to know that might be filtering out of the region and central government. We collate and then send that stuff out to them, the stuff that's of relevance, along with sort of like general regional and district indicators, in which our CE is has quite a high profile on commenting on, including us providing a full monthly update to the local newspaper. I'll talk briefly to the nature economy. This is a new appointment here. We've got a gentleman called Zach Shaw, who's led and facilitated by DWC, a group called Kotiatitanga Ki Te Uru, which is a regional leadership group, and that's focused on identifying and untapping the potential in the nature economy for the West Coast. I mean, as you've probably seen, to most people are aware, 87% of the West Coast is in conservation of state. You know, we could look at that as a burden, or we can look at that as a huge asset, and we tend to look at it as a huge asset. So over $13 million of funding was allocated to the West Coast for the government's Jobs for Nature Fund. And that project has supported over 230 jobs on the West Coast. I would add to that that's probably been the largest single contributor to people's state of mind and well-being in the southwestern region, and that has enabled them to retain employees who are able to shift into jobs for nature. And as the work has increased back into the tourism businesses, they can shift back out but still basically retain full-time employment. So that's been huge. A number of employment initiatives, the Education to Employment Initiative, which is support from MSD, and a new vocational coordinator was established at DWC. Education employment has been connecting students and school leavers to the world of work across the West Coast, and helping our youth be better informed and prepare for the future. That again has been really successful. It's we've supported in line with that, we supported specifically this organisation, supported a number of tertiary scholarships. So in 2021, we launched the inaugural Development West Coast Tertiary Scholarship Program. The scholarships are designed to grow and retain highly qualified West Coast residents on the coast. Recipients are offered holiday work and guaranteed employment and the completion of their tertiary study. So that's addressing a major problem. Is one of the problems, like I guess a lot of smaller rural communities, is that when seeking opportunities, a lot of our better who excel at school tend to move on to universities and move into the larger centres, and we understand that, but we would like to have offers available that attract them back to this region when they've finished that, because they're our future leaders, political leaders and business leaders. Upskill has been another hugely successful initiative that again was DWC led, and that's an initiative focused on supporting people to attain their recognised qualifications and creating sustainable employment opportunities. The government invested $2.1 million in that program through the PGF Skills and Employment Fund, Te Ara Mahi, and that program is also supported by MSD, who work right alongside DWC in doing that.
So DWC provides and facilitates a range of support initiatives, products and services for businesses on the West Coast, helping businesses to gain knowledge, to connect with the right people and to grow. So DWC continues as the regional business partner for the West Coast region. So the Regional Business Partner Network is a collaboration between the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, MB, and Callaghan Innovation. So the network delivers support services to businesses, and the aim of that support is to improve management capability and increase research and development activity amongst our small and medium enterprises. So once registered with RBP, one of our growth advisors from the team, so there's myself, there's Ian, and we have another colleague, Carolyn. So we get in touch with the businesses and we set up what we call a discovery session. So the idea of the discovery session is just to identify the areas of opportunity and challenge for the businesses. And then based on the specific needs identified and in consultation with the business owner, we'll connect you with the right resources, people, training and or funding to help you move your business forward. So there can be targeted advice, it could be information, could be referrals or connections. It could be that we connect you with a business mentor, or that we helped you boost your management skills, or we help you access R&D expertise and funding through Callaghan Innovation. So I'll just break that down for you and go through that a little bit for you. So the management capability funding. So where there's a management capability need identified that could be addressed by undertaking some training, we may issue some capability funding for you, and you can use that funding with a registered service provider. So a service provider that's registered with the Regional Business Partner Network. So these are funds that are available to subsidise the cost of workshops, courses or one-on-one training across a wide area of businesses and subject areas. You can refer to those on the screen there. There is some business eligibility around accessing that funding. So businesses need to be GST registered and they need to have a New Zealand business number. They need to be a privately owned business or a Maori trust or incorporation. The businesses need to be operating in a commercial environment, and currently they need to have less than 50 full-time equivalent employees. Business Mentors. So Business Mentors is a not-for-profit organisation which is committed to helping small business owners, start-up entrepreneurs and not-for-profit organisations. So as the RBP partner on the West Coast, we help deliver the Business Mentor New Zealand's mentoring program across the region. So the Business Mentors are volunteers who provide support by sharing with you their skills and knowledge and understanding of what it takes to succeed in businesses. So mentors offer encouragement and wisdom for navigating today's business environment. They bring fresh perspectives with the sole aim of seeing others succeed. Callaghan Innovation. So Callaghan Innovation is New Zealand's innovation agency supporting high-tech businesses. So they have a mix of over 400 researchers, engineers, scientists and technologists, designers and advisors who work closely with other government partners, Crown research institutes and other organisations that help increase business investment in research and development and innovation. And Callaghan Innovation currently is rapidly developing its product portfolio, and I'm just going to run through a few of the products that are available. And within each of these, there's a range of programs, resources and tools. So innovation skills, so there's a range of programs and workshops to help scale and increase businesses' pace of innovation. That can be from improving performance and eliminating inefficiencies in your business through to accelerating software and product development. There's a range of programs including lean, digital lean, beyond IP, capital education, and more information on these products can be found on Callaghan Innovation's website. Networks and connections, there's Clean Tech Mission, there's Industry 4.0, Agritech ITP. There's R&D funding, and we've got some renewed grants that are being launched later this year. There's Getting Started grants, and there's Student and Career grants. And then they've got their R&D expertise, so access to biotechnology expertise, physical technology expertise. Accessing some of these services is a fee for service, but it's just knowing that that support is out there. And then the flagship research and development tax incentive. So that operates as a tax credit, and it's incentivizing businesses and individuals who perform R&D activities. That's applied through inland revenue, and it is administered as a tax credit. So some of the key features of that, there's a 15% tax credit available for eligible R&D, but the minimum eligible R&D expenditure is $50,000 per year. The maximum expenditure is $120 million a year. So as you can see, that tax credit is available to a wide range of business sizes there. The purpose of the R&D tax incentive is to seek to solve scientific and technological uncertainty or uncertainties. So more information on these products and services can both be found on Callaghan Innovation, and more information on the research and development tax can be found on Callaghan Innovation's website or Inland Revenue's website.
So how are we going for time?
Yep, minutes, so you're good.
So this program called 5 Communities was initiated by the government coming out of the first ranges of lockdowns, and not too long after that, where when we went back out into the communities, some communities have been affected by lockdowns, and particularly the closing of our borders significantly more than others. And 5 communities in particular, Queenstown Lakes, Southland, Kaikoura, Mackenzie and Westland, in particular for us, that the focus on Glacier Country, where the mix of international to domestic tourism was at 50% or more, which is unusual. Interestingly enough, all South Island destinations. They had been devastated, and it wasn't so much about putting the money directly into the hands of tourism operators. It was based on the fact that the communities were starting to fall apart. Communities have a critical mass that's required for fire service and search and rescue and primary schools and teaching numbers and all of those sort of things. And with the number of jobs that had been lost and the people that had physically had to leave the communities, that's long-term residents, as well as obviously in a lot of tourism and hospitality regions, internationals as well, who had to return home. Some of those services were starting to collapse. So the government's well thought out idea for this fund was it was more about how do we retain enough people in those communities to ensure that when the business comes back, there's actually someone there still there and that community still exists. It was done through available through a series of grants. The first grant available, so Fiona talked about the regional business partner network, and the up to $5,000 is available per business on a 50-50 share basis. For this particular grant, a separate pool of funding was organised, and that was available to those businesses at $5,000 at 100%. So fully serviced funding, and that was available for capability and advice and coaching and training. One of the issues that we discovered with the first round of general government funding that went out across the country is there's only so much advice you can give people and so much coaching and training. And what they required beyond that was actually the ability to implement some of that, which the Regional Business Partner Network doesn't do. So the government set up a second fund, which we applied for and is administered by us, and that's called implementation funding. And the implementation funding allows a lot of the advice that's being given from people to then be implemented. Again, up to $5,000 at 100% funding. And look, that's been hugely successful and critical. I would have to say that probably the majority of businesses were able to access that funding have. It expires on the 31st of August, as does the third fund, which was tied into this, which was sort of set outside this. It was going to be launched at the same time. It was called the Tourism Kickstart Fund. The Tourism Kickstart Fund was due to be launched, and because we opened our borders, I don't know if anybody remembers when we briefly let a whole lot of people go to Australia and then left them over there because we shut the borders again. So the Kickstart Fund was delayed and pulled out towards the end of last year. And it's a much more generous fund, and it has a much wider scope available to the business. So essentially, to access that fund, there was a hard line drawn. A business had to have shown a reduction in their, essentially what you would call their IRD supplied accounts between post-COVID, so that's their 2021 or 2022 accounts, had to show a 50% reduction in income compared to either their 2019 or 2020 accounts. And the reason that 2019 or 2020 sat there as the pre-COVID accounts is in our region, we had a really bad, people had really struggled in 2020 as well, because we'd had a washout of our major bridge into the southwestern region. And so they had yet to recover from that when COVID hit. But a 50% reduction in income sounds like a lot, and it is, but we've had well over 50 businesses qualify for that. And some of the figures, when you get to see them and assess what these businesses have done, and you ask yourself how they've hung on, and we're talking 80, 90% reductions in income, because some of these businesses were 98% international tourism in the way that they had set up their model, and suddenly their business is locked out of the country. And while you can pivot to a domestic market when it's say 10% of the market, and you can increase that by 10%, you're now in total of about 11 or 12% of what you used to do, and it's still not enough. Tourism Kickstart's been really generous in that it's basically designed to allow businesses to, which is why it was delayed in the initial onset. It's saying the borders are opening up again. How can we help you scale back up now to actually get to the point where you're ready to take on business again? So it will support businesses for re-employment, for contribution to wages and salaries for new staff coming on, for some business as usual stuff to like rates and insurances, which are going to go up again, that businesses have struggled to pay. A lot of it's been repairs and maintenance. One of the most common applications for many of in the hospitality industry, particularly accommodation, is being linenware, because most businesses have a cycle of replacing that stuff every year. They let so much out and they get so much new stuff in. They haven't done that for 2 or 3 years, so things are worn and faded. So that fund also expires on the 31st of August, and we have how much we have given. We have so far funded just over $2 million to 70 businesses on the West Coast. What that's telling you is 70 businesses, and this is Westland District only. So this is Kamara Junction south, or mainly Hokitika and Franz and Fox down to Haast. That's 70 businesses that, to meet that qualification, had a reduction in revenue of over 50%. And I think a number of people would find that quite staggering. I'll take a minute. There's just a couple of case studies I'll talk about. So I'm not going to name the businesses, but just a couple of things where you can get. So we had a boutique accommodation business in Franz Joseph that's sitting at home under lockdown, realised that on their property they had this huge stand of Manuka oil, which effectively was growing there organically. They have pivoted away from being a tourism business, are now producing their own brand of organic Manuka oil and hydrosol on the property. We put the support in place to allow that pivot to happen. They're in the process of just getting their labels delivered and delivering their first batches of oil and hydrosol. Another one, a bloke sitting at home, the classic men in sheds entrepreneurial story, became obsessed during lockdown with a varroa mite infestation, even though he wasn't a beekeeper, and started thinking about what he could do to potentially solve that problem. He's developed an end-to-end solution that needs some validation and angel investment to get to market. But, he was able to speak to us about it, and we've been able to put the right people in place to potentially see that through. He's in his 70s. He's not planning on turning himself into a millionaire, but he potentially will turn someone else into a millionaire with this idea. And it's a really simple and it's a wonderful solution. We had another one. We noticed a lot of people took digital media platforms completely for granted. We're all probably reasonably digitally savvy. We're familiar with the internet. We've been on Zoom calls. There was a lot of businesses, particularly in a place like South Westland, that for 20 years, while you would think, well, every tourism business has a website and every food and accommodation business has a website, actually some of them didn't, and they were really rudimentary. And the reason they didn't is they were full. All they needed was a tile out in front. They had relationships with wholesalers and inbound operators, and they were turning away business. And so they took for granted a whole lot of stuff that overnight became vitally important, particularly in actually reaching back out now to a domestic market that we're hoping would fill some of the holes. So, we've had to use every tool in these boxes at our fingertips to actually get this in place. So we've built a lot of websites through this funding. We've put a lot of people through training in how to use social media, how to set up Instagram, how to post, when to post. Had to teach, well, what is a site manager, what do they do? And that's been, I don't think we've got anybody now who is in that space now who doesn't have a new website with bookable product from it. So that's been huge as well. And the final thing that I would add there briefly is that while this has been a particularly hard period, going back when we start to get business back, these businesses now run lean. They know what it means to run lean. No one's got any fat left in their business. So as we start to get people back in through the borders, these businesses should theoretically, they're in a better position to make more with less, which I also think is a strength.
Thanks, Ian. So we're close to wrapping up, but I'd also just like to say that DWC facilitates a wide range of business events, training. When we're out talking to businesses, we're always looking to identify some needs and where there's an opportunity to bring in or provide a particular training and workshops that's helping to build capabilities on the West Coast. So just up on the screen at the moment, we've got some of our upcoming events that are in the near future. But yeah, we're always open to suggestions and looking to identify there's a need of particular training, and is there a place for us to actually step in and help that. So I think, just in closing, thank you for allowing us to present today and just give you an overview of Development West Coast, who we are and what we do. Please do reach out if you're looking, if any of what we've talked about today interests you, or if you're a business that needs some help. You may not even know yet what that help is or where to go. Through our growth advisors in one of our discovery sessions and in consultation with yourselves, we can sort of set some priorities and set a bit of an action plan for you. So just in closing, I'd like to say, please do head to our website, westcoast.co.nz. There's a whole lot of further information there on who we are, what we do, and how you can access that support. But if you scroll down to the bottom of our homepage, you can sign up to our newsletters. You can choose in that sign up process what information you want to receive, whether it's economic indicators, whether it's tourism support or tourism information. So you can select what you want information you receive from us. So I think we'll wrap up there, and I think we now enter into a Q&A session. Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much, Fiona, Ian, for your presentation. I have got a couple of questions that have come in. What are the advantages for new business working with Development West Coast as compared with traditional banks and finance companies?
Okay, so you don't have to be a commercial finance client to access the support of the business support team that's available to all businesses, but certainly you know, if you're working with Development West Coast and you access some of our commercial lending support, then we've got a real interest to help you succeed. So as well as a business support team, we can actually connect you with our network and our ecosystem of advisors and agencies to help you with your business. There could be some flexibility around the terms and conditions. Now that's negotiated on a case-by-case basis, depending on the amount of risk involved. And also probably the key and most important factor is that often our lending is of a short-term nature, but the idea of that is that, you know, that capital is actually repaid back to DWC, and then we can go and support another business. But the key factor around that is that the money is staying within the region. So yeah, you know, we're supporting West Coast businesses, and it's all about economic development in the West Coast region. So yeah, that capital that we invest is returned back to us. Any interest that's gained on that is reinvested back into the West Coast, and I think that's a key factor.
Yes, yeah, very much so. How long does it take to process a commercial finance application once submitted? And what are some of the key things you look at during the assessment process?
Sure. Okay. So yeah, there is an application process, and we have to do our own due diligence. We also have to determine sort of the risk that is involved. So it is case by case, and it is actually a stage process. So there's different levels of authority in signing off. So that will also determine on how long the process takes. So often it'll start with a preliminary inquiry. It used to be called a statement of intent. That will come in and will have a certain level of information that will be taken to our management team, and often we'll give feedback on sort of the appetite of support, of level of support, and then we might sort of progress on to a full application process. That just sort of gives the applicant sort of a feedback at that early stage, and then we go into the detail, and often the devil is in the detail. So the more information, and applicants are encouraged to engage with us early in that application process. One of my team will actually help with that, help you work through that application process, and also help you understand what information is needed. We will need financial information. I don't think we ask anything that any other lending organisation wouldn't ask for, but we go and a decision will be made on the size of the amount of funding, and who that needs to be signed off by. We have an advisory body that sits alongside us and helps us, gives us advice on some of these financial decisions that we're making, or these applications that we're reviewing. And we also have our trustees who are brought in at a level of funding. So depends on the information that's provided. So the more information you can provide, the better. We do ask for a business plan or a business case on what that idea is. We're looking at the capability of the applicant, what expertise they've got around them, and what support they actually need. There is some financial forecasting that would be provided. We're looking to see that the business is sustainable, and there's also some financial history that's required as part of that assessment. So terms and conditions of any facility, that's case by case. That depends on the risk that's actually involved, and it's also negotiated with the applicant once we've got all that information in front of us. So our trustees, they meet 6 weekly. So it's not a couple of days. We don't turn them around as quickly as a bank does. We do have some process to follow, but again, it depends on the level of funding and the level of information that is actually presented to us as we review that.
Just another question there, just around support for people when they've got a business idea and they want to carry that through to a business plan. What would your advice be to them, Fiona?
Sure. So come in and talk to our business advisory team. There's a number of different support mechanisms that we can put in place around you. We can give you some general guidance and support. It might be that a business mentor is a good support for you in helping develop that business plan. We've also got our Co-Starters Business Development Program. So we facilitate that. We've actually got a cohort running in Greymouth at the moment. I think it's into about its 3rd week. So the Co-Starters Business Development Program, that's a 10-week program, and it's about 2 to 3 hours once a week. So and it works in a cohort that you come in and you work on a particular subject, sort of following a business plan template or a canvas that you work through, that helps you work through gathering the information that you need to actually be able to put a business plan together. Could be market validation, it could be about identifying what skill sets and expertise you have got, and what you haven't got, and what support you actually need to help bring that idea to fruition or commercialisation. So I would just suggest, and it could be about, what funding options are also available to me. So anyone that's got a startup idea, I would actually recommend that you come in and talk to the business support team. We're even, and you'll be aware that we're even working with some MSD clients with the FlexiWage program. So yeah, come in and have a chat to us about the startup idea, and we'll try and connect you with the right people or the right programs.
There's another question here. Can I come to you for management capability co-funding with my chosen service provider?
Certainly. So the management capability co-funding is that funding that I talked about through the regional business partner program, and that service providers that have to be registered with RBP. There is a process for that. But if you've actually identified a service provider, just reach out to us, have a chat to us. We'll confirm whether or not they are actually a registered service provider. And if they are, then yep, that management capability funding should be available to actually help you with that training. But you don't have to know who your service provider is. through that discovery session that we have with you, we'll identify what those needs might be. And if you don't have an identified service provider, we'll give you an option of 2 or 3. We'll recommend that you reach out to those service providers, have a general chat about what their service is and how they can help you. And then you can make a decision on who you work with.
And last question for you, Fiona. I'm not sure if I'm already registered on the RBP platform. How can I find out?
Sure. Yep. So again, just reach out to us, have that initial conversation with us. We can actually go into the platform and see if you're already registered. Otherwise, you can actually go onto the Regional Business Partner Network and try and register, and it will actually come up and tell you if you're already registered. So one of the criteria about registering for the program is actually having a New Zealand business number, and that will actually the regional business partner pulls that information through, that just general business information, but it'll flag that NZBN is a unique identifier for you. So if you're already registered and you put in your NZBN number, it'll actually come up and say, actually, you're already registered. Would you like to reconnect or connect with the local regional business partner? But otherwise, you can give us a call and we can actually check that out.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. Sorry, I've just got a big sunbeam coming through there. It's a bit difficult to see me. Thanks, Anne, for doing those questions, and thank you, Ian and Fiona. I guess the West Coasters are very, very spoiled with the amount of knowledge that you guys hold, and great amount of support via Development West Coast, and also coming from Connected as well. So thanks so much for joining us today, both Ian and Fiona from Development West Coast. If you have joined us throughout the conference and you forget where to go, or you forget the name of an organisation, or you just want somewhere to start, please do reach out to Connected. We've got Anne, who is there on the West Coast, who will be able to reach you and be that conduit of connection over to places like Development West Coast. Digital Boost is here supporting the small business community. We have a free learning platform, so do jump on there, utilise all the videos that are available to help start your digital transformation. And if you do have a website already, I would encourage you to use the free tool Checkable. Checkable will run a full diagnostic on your digital footprint and then give you some tips, tricks and advice on how to optimise your digital journey. That does bring day 2 of our conference to a close and wrapping up this session. So once again, just want to thank Anne from Connected for joining us, and Ian and Fiona from Development West Coast. It's been a pleasure to host you this afternoon. Thank you to those who've joined us on the webinar and those who have joined us via a live stream. We will be delivering 5 more sessions in the conference tomorrow, starting at midday. There'll be a session on the hour every hour till 4 o'clock, and they are going to be with our government agencies. So thank you again. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a wonderful evening, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you in future sessions tomorrow. Thank you.